Let me begin with the title of a book and a title of a song. And it's a book by Caroline Dinshaw, a famous medievalist. And one of her books is called How Soon Is Now, which is also a title of a song sung by the Smiths. But the question, how soon is now, is, I think, a very crucial one, because now is always now. And it's never in the future, it's now. And talking about the future also means talking about the present, because the future inevitably becomes the present very quickly. And I think taking care of the future means being very much concerned about the present, so one can't take the two apart. And if now is always this present moment into which the future turns quickly, we have to secure the present first in order to make sure that we get the kind of future we want to have, because the future is in our hands.
The 19th century is a really intriguing moment in terms of time, because several different ways in which time is thought about were changed dramatically. Firstly, chronologies were opened up on an extraordinary scale, so from tens of thousands of years to millions of years. And the weirdest perspective of all on this is that the 19th century is the only point in European history when time hasn't had brackets around it. So before that, creation and apocalypse, kind of events of religion, were thought to shape time, to begin and end time, and everything in between was more or less the same. And today we have other kinds of brackets, like the Big Bang and the heat death of the universe. In the 19th century, many people had decided that those religious brackets might not exist, but nothing had been come up with to replace them. So it's a time when people were thinking with eternity and there was very little agreement about what kinds of shapes time might form. And standardization of time in terms of clocks, in terms of time zones, also belongs to this period. So it's a really dramatic transformation in the ways in which large numbers of people related their own lives to time.
The future is rather interesting and central concept actually in philosophy of time or metaphysics of time, because future represents the becoming. We only have future if we are. It is a relationship to the from the future to present, and that means that we are using so-called tensed language. We use past, future, and present, and it implies that there is kind of privileged point in time where we exist, and that is one. Not everybody agrees with this characterization of the time, and it's already problematic in physics. So kind of philosophically think about future is kind of very nice, because it actually ties a lot of philosophical debates regarding time altogether.
The word university is obviously connected to the idea of universe. So it's a universe of knowledge and ideas. That's what I like the more about the university, and I don't think there's any other kind of institution in the world that offers this opportunity. Has been like this for more than 1,000 years if we think in the traditional Western sense. If we think about the Greeks, they were doing their kind of university by teaching others and by promoting research. So I just hope that universities are always going to be this incredible place for learning and understanding.
One of the things that I've come away with, and one of the things I think that is most important about the university as an institution, is teaching us to think critically. The more that corporations and outside pressures get involved in our daily lives, it's a real sanctuary and opportunity to really think things through, to develop critical perspectives and help navigate the future that's ahead of us.
I've seen a lot of people saying that the university is a big crisis. I think the university has always been a big crisis. It's always a little behind what it should be doing at that moment. Right now, maybe the biggest crisis we have is that it's not really, we're trying to find better ways to connect to society. So I think there's already very good models on how university can do high quality research and teaching, but I think that people are still finding other ways for it to connect to society around it, and not only to the students and professors.
We have three things. One start point, a big bang, or this event here, the Intercontinental Academia, a model, we here, so many different parameters, and an output, maybe the university of the future. So, and time is something that relates all the flow of this model.
Do you hear that?
I think maybe shall we just keep it like that, these questions now, and then we discuss now what we actually want to do tomorrow?
Yeah.
And
I think we've got a long way today.
Yeah, that was great.
So the idea would be probably to tomorrow we try to work some of these questions.
Yeah. And
Well, one thing we could use the 20 minutes we have until 6 to try to do is try to have an idea of which questions make each of us a bit more comfortable about discussing, so that we can think about group divisions.
Yeah, I think at this point we should split because
yeah,
I can add very
definitely.
little to some of these questions.
But I think each
At
of us
least
is,
in the beginning, the first part.
each of us is going to want to speak to several questions, aren't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
how many groups do we want to do?
We just assign one of these questions to a different place. Then people can circulate between those places to be involved in discussions as and when.
I'm pretty sure everyone already said how interesting it is to combine people from different fields in such as philosophy, anthropology, biology into this intercontinental academia. What I like the most actually is how to work together with them, because this is a mini representation of what is a university, how to deal with different interests and goals, and that is the real challenge. So I really look forward to work together with people with these different backgrounds.
So what I expect about this event, about this Intercontinental Academia, is basically happen right now, or it's the interaction between people, this intercultural exchange, and basically the voyage where we don't know yet our harbor or our goal.
way time is represented in later works of art and the way that later viewers interpreted this particular painting, as opposed to the kind of almost entirely kind of atemporal in some ways, but incredibly temporally specific in other ways, world that is presented in that painting itself.
Sacred time and chronological time, two different types of time. So, well, before that teaching, of course, the Amerindian, Native American did not have such a time concept.
At the moment, we have 18,453 words. So we basically have about 4 MOOC scripts. So we need to get distilling quite quickly.
Divide it into 2 or not. 2 MOOCs
Oh,
or
two sections.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think.
No, but it is about those who actually have worked, whether the material is something that kind of enables that to.
I think it's easier to distill to have one good MOOC than to have not one MOOC, but 2 lectures.
Many professors in the previous generations have a negative impression for this kind of interdisciplinary perspective or attitude. But and now especially our young generations have a great interest to communicate with different areas.
Well, the MOOC, of course, it's a weird thing, really, because it's both supposed to be the product of our joint work, so it should and ought to contain what we produce as a group interdisciplinarily. But it's also meant to be a tool for students or for anyone who's interested in the topic, so that they can use it and register for this course and learn something about time. So we had to find kind of a balance between doing something that is not too far away from people who can actually receive the material. But also we don't want to just repeat what others have done. Because of course you can find courses on time and on literature and time and on biology and time. There are courses like that. So we wanted to make it special in the way that it's truly interdisciplinary, yet also accessible to a general audience. So we had to find a balance there. So in one, it should be scientifically sound, but also perhaps entertaining.
Interdisciplinarity is something that looks a fancy word and that it's a modern word, but actually people have already been doing this for ages. Biochemistry is combining biology and chemistry, bioinformatics, biology, informatics, geophysics, all these things already shows that science by nature or even any academic activity is interdisciplinary. But I think that here now it's much more different because it's really mixing completely different fields. It's not similar fields.
When I became part of it, I had the feeling that time was a simple idea, a simple concept, something that could be translated into something that would be definable. It could be measured. It could be perceived by us human beings or by our measurement tools, and that all came apart. I don't trust there is a good concept of time anymore. I don't trust time necessarily exists. So I went from a certainty that I had good concepts with me, even if I didn't know how to define those concepts, to an absolute certainty that I don't know much. And I think that's the purpose. We learn more to know that we know less. And so that was I would say a good outcome, because if you know less, at least if you're aware you know less, you have a reason to try to learn more.
The main difference between the University of the Future and now is that in the University of the Future we can use our own time to do more interesting things. So one thing that now is starting to happen, but in the University of the Future works really well, is that knowledge is everywhere, so people can just look in the internet. So a lot of what we teach right now, we don't have to teach anymore. They can just do it by themselves. Which does not mean that they didn't have classrooms or anything like that. The difference is that we used those times, that period, to actually discuss things in a deeper way with different people from different areas. So we can actually use our time in a more valuable way, and not for people to actually learn stuff, or for people to discuss and think about what they just learned. And that makes a huge difference, because then you can get these people who already they know the information that's there, and they just need to think about it in a more critical way and with different views and different opinions, and actually make a good opinion about it. And that's basically what we use our time in this University of the Future.